Get this shit together. Hey, man, you messed up my soft open, too, because I was going to ask his ass about them claps. No, hell no, I'm going to ask him about it anyway. You know, Mark, I don't know if you did it last week, brother. Did we have claps last week?
Shay.
Are you sure?
Shay.
He said, you vouching for this, bro? I don't know if we had claps last week. Kansas City's on. I got D-Holler in the building. D-Holler in the building. Yes, sir. Yeah. Okay, Mark. Okay. I was just checking. Now, look, Pops, you either get in the interview. Oh, no, I messed with you, Pops. My bad. Yeah, y'all know Pops over there in the cut. That's my guy. You know, man, that's my man right there. Listen, man. This particular episode, it's gonna be a good one. Okay, because y'all know how Jonathan like to do. Y'all know history is my favorite subject. So anytime I could dive into any history, especially some history that I feel like a lot of people ain't up on game about, I take heed to that opportunity. You know what I'm saying? That's how John get out. A bunch of Midwest love going on up in here today. You understand what I'm saying? Now, man, let's do this.
Growing up right here in Cincinnati, he moved out west to pursue his...
Growing up in Tri-State, a man who got his big break in the mid-'90s singing with Warner Brothers.
Native has made a name for himself in the entertainment.
TROB Robinson grew up in Over the Rhine and went on to become a recording artist with the group Cold Premier.
A Tri-State native who made a name for himself in the music industries and movies, too.
That's from Step by Step here. We got Tony Robinson.
Yes, I'm good, bro.
He is the quiet giant. T-Rob, y'all give it up for him right here.
T-Rob himself.
T-Rob.
Joining me is T-Rob.
T-Rob.
And a local raised in Over the Rhine puts his story on the big screen.
Welcome back to the I-70 podcast. It is your boy, John Little, a.k.a. John. And right now, listen, I'm here with a gentleman that, honestly speaking, he probably made your mama and daddy shake their groove thing once or twice. You understand what I'm saying? They probably was at a house party or two, with the backdrop, taking a picture with all the girlfriends. On some 90s, some 90s shit, one of the best eras in time. You know what I mean? A pioneer in this music game that a lot of people slept on, but we gonna get it understood today. You understand what I'm saying? One of the founding members of the Cold Premier Group. You understand? Crush Premier. Did I say it correctly?
You said it right. Cold Premier.
Cold Premier. Goddamn me. I got to check my names on this. I ain't say it wrong. We got Tony Robinson in the building, man.
Oh, man. JJ, John, Playboy John. How you doing, brother?
I'm doing all right. So how you doing?
Man, I'm blessed, man.
Good.
Better than I should be doing.
That's what I'm talking about. Now let's get into it, man, because like I said before, it's a Midwest love going on.
Right on.
We got Cincinnati in the building.
All day. Who they?
Yeah, hey. You understand? And I want to dive into this, man, because Cincinnati is one of those Midwest cities that it be a lot going on, but it's like you get passed over. You know what I mean? In a sense, when we speak, because Chicago is probably the top of the Midwest list, but we got a lot going on in the Midwest.
Yes, sir.
Take me through Cincinnati growing up in them late 80s, early 90s years. How was Cincinnati?
Cincinnati, to me, in the 80s and 90s was very similar to New York. Anytime I watched... let's say a movie or even a TV show like Different Strokes. Might be before your time, I'm sure. But
I'm old soul now. But I got you. You're right. I watch Different Strokes too.
So when I saw those shows and the movies, Uptown Saturday Night, Bill Cosby, Sidney Poitier, and Cooley High, Crush Groove, all those movies, the scenic reminded me of Cincinnati. So I always felt like I was in New York. Yeah. So it had that East Coast Midwest vibe to it. So it definitely was a town that was a melting pot. A lot of talent roamed through there. A lot of talent come from there.
Yes, sir.
And it was just, I would say, the mecca of funk, actually. Yeah. So that was one of the things that I grasped as a youngster coming up in Cincinnati.
And when you say the mecca of funk, because you was around the time when it happened, when hip hop was introduced to the world, when it came through Cincinnati and y'all developed your own sound, that funk, and influenced the music industry. What was that transition like? Like, why did y'all get it and make it your own thing?
Well, I think it stems from being in that middle, in that center, and them absorbing everything outside of that center. When you think of funk, like a lot of people don't realize that the Isley Brothers is from Cincinnati.
Talk about it. One of my favorite. My daddy never gonna love this interview. That's what I'm talking about.
You got the Isley Brothers. You got Boosie Collins and the Boosie's Rubber Band. And actuality, my father's a drummer for Boosie's Rubber Band and George Clinton. James Brown had King Records. They had King Records out of Cincinnati. You got everybody from L.A. Reid, the Deal. I mean, the list goes on in terms of music. So there was such a vast amount of groups with various styles that I think once all of that kind of came together, it had that mixture of funk to it. Yeah. And to this day, a lot of the youngsters out here are influenced by the Snoop Dogg's and, the Tupacs and the Dr. Dre's and the Jay-Z's and all those guys. But a lot of those guys were basically kind of sprung out into the public through funk, man. Mm-hmm. So a lot of the samples and stuff come from where we are.
And then, like, in that time, because I'm sure it wasn't a lot of exposure. Like, the music industry wasn't big in Cincy at the time. So just speak about that struggle of trying to be an artist and make it out of, and get more exposure, I would say.
I think like most Midwest towns, it's like you said, you hit it on the head in the beginning of your intro, was that overlooked a lot. I think it's, back in the 90s, contrary to like today's entertainment world, we didn't have the social media and whatnot. So to find out about something in one of these small towns out here was kind of a little bit, a lot thinner than it is today to find talent, and I think that was one of the things. We weren't in the big city. A lot of the action wasn't coming through our town. So a lot of the labels weren't really checking. You had to kind of like oversaturate your town in order to get seen or recognized outside of the city. So it was a little hard.
And during that time, so what y'all having to do? Just talent shows around the city, just to, like you said, take over the city. Had to do everything, huh? Every gig.
Talent shows were the biggest thing, to our city. I mean, that, to me, you hit it on the head, man. That was the catapult to the industry for us. That's what gave us kind of a sample of what it could be like. And I think that's what kind of drove, our group, Cold Premier, to pursue further, is because of the multiple amounts of talent shows we did and building that fan base like you guys do today with the internet. We had to go out and do the shows and build it like on the raw edge.
Yeah, that's
and
right.
Once we did that, we oversaturated. The city will push you out of it. It'll tell you, you'll get people telling you all the time, man, y'all need to go to New York. Y'all need to go to L.A. Y'all need to get out of here so, y'all can get seen. And we kind of took that advice, man, and that's kind of what happened with us. So.
And then Cold Premier.
Yes.
I know y'all started out as two separate entities, and then y'all came together. Put you this way, how did your group run into the other group before y'all formed one?
That's a great question, man. I love it. You done your research.
I absolutely have.
Sir. Yes, sir. Well, how it started was I was in a group. I was really heavily influenced by New Edition.
Gotcha.
And the reason being is because I came from an area in Cincinnati called Over the Rhine. It's one of the roughest parts of the city.
Gotcha.
And when New Edition came out, those guys looked like us. And for me to see just city loads of women, chasing these brothers, and these brothers look just like us.
Out the projects.
It showed me that, man, because before them you had the Jacksons, you had the Osmond brothers, you had all these major mega acts that you just couldn't relate to.
Right.
And when New Edition came out, to be able to relate to them was the key for me. And then there was another group. So our group was called The Fellas. It was 4 of us. Okay. We basically was like an imitation of New Edition. We did all their covers. We started out doing the lip syncing thing, and we did a lot of talent shows, and the girls went crazy because they couldn't get to New Edition. So we was the closest thing to get them to New Edition.
Right.
And there was one other group that was called Cold Crush, and these guys were B-boys. Shout out to Shane Sparks, shout out to Chris Tyler, Keith Sperling, Alonzo, all the fellas.
Yes, sir. Don't miss nobody.
Yeah. These guys were B-boys. They was getting out there and making a name. I mean, they were huge in our city. And we all eventually toured together in different, tri-state cities, and realized while we were touring that, man, if we put our group style with your dancing, imagine what that can be like. b-boy dancing with a singing group, kind of like the Jabberwockies.
Yeah.
And that's kind of like what started that whole entrance to formulating Cold Premier. So we took the fellas, we took Cold Crush, 2 guys out of Cold Crush, which was Shane Sparks and Chris Tyler, matched it with us. We formed a 5-man group, and we were basically 5 sing and dance b-boy.
And do you remember y'all first show y'all did together?
Together.
When y'all first formed it, y'all let's do it.
Yeah, our first show together as Cold Premier was actually at the Coliseum it was kind of like the Sprint Center.
Okay,
here.
got you.
And it was a guy named Willie Mays that used to put on a lot of shows for the locals and whatnot. And he'd bring a national act to fill the place. And they had heard about us doing shows. Cold Crush was popular. That's how we got the name Cold Premier, because we got Cold Crush, blended it together. They invited us to do the show, man, and that's where our first gig was at. And we ripped it, man.
Yeah.
We ripped it.
And it's great you said, a point you made earlier when you were like the girls in, the tri-state area, Cincinnati, they couldn't get to the bigger groups.
Right.
So just how was that, man, being an artist at that time when being an artist was, because this is what I always say in regards to versus then and now. It was more intimate, you know what I'm saying, the relationship between the artist and the crowd, you know what I mean? Because like you said, you had to be out and go get the record. You had to come see y'all. You couldn't just be online and see y'all.
Right, nah.
So just what was those shows like when the girls are just going crazy and y'all feel like, okay, we own something?
Bruh, I felt like, like Rick Ross say, I feel like Larry Hoover. I felt like I was Ralph Tresvant.
Right.
And again, because we were in our small town, which Cincinnati is a big city for the Midwest, but for looking at the spectrum out there, we were small. And so you didn't see New Edition often. And then again, like you said, we didn't have internet, so you couldn't just go on and Google them and watch they shows online. They had to come through town. Yeah. And when they weren't in town, we were the New Edition, basically. And so with the girls, it was almost like, just like we fantasize of being them, they fantasize of us being them as well. And that got us the girls, I guess.
Yeah. And then how long did it take for y'all to transition and make it out to LA? Because y'all in Cincinnati, how did y'all?
Within a year.
Year.
We got together, and I'm dating myself right now. We got together in '89, and by '90 we were in LA, and we had a deal prior to the Warner Brothers deal that we got with a company called RES, and that's Ron E. Sweeney. Ron Sweeney was the lawyer for Eazy-E when he passed.
Gotcha.
Ron Sweeney was running the company for Clarence Avant. If you look up Clarence Avant, he's the godfather of music.
Did I watch a documentary on him? There you go.
So we were signed to Clarence Avant first. And that deal, they kind of had a lot going on. They were managing Janet Jackson. She had just came out with Rhythm Nation. And we would kind of put it off kind of in the back burner. And rightfully so. They had a big project. And eventually we ended up, man, wanting to get out of that deal. They didn't want to really let us go. We ended up getting a gig that kind of blew us up. And then we had like 9 labels. I mean, all the majors was calling us. And eventually, man, I went to them. I called them personally. It was like, can you please let us out? We got an opportunity. You guys are busy, and it took them a little bit, maybe not really that long, but probably a couple of days, actually. Yeah. And I remember the call, and he was like, man, you guys will release you. Yeah. And the rest is history.
And then what made the group kind of put you into the forefront, as the spokesman? You know what I mean?
I think with me, man, because here's the thing, man. I always was nervous as hell. Okay. Being out there in the front, because when you're in the front, we were a 5-man group, so you got 4 guys, and they 2 on 2, 2 and 2. They doing the routines. They got a partner. I'm by myself.
Got you.
So I had to do something that will equal what they were doing together, or catch up, or pass what they were doing, because I'm the front man. I'm the hammer, and I think because of my attitude, my due diligence, my dedication to it. I was so just gone off a New Edition that all I did, man, was drink, eat, and sleep music. Gotcha. So I think with them seeing that, and I guess at the time me being marketable, they felt like it was only fair and right for me to be there. So that's how I ended up in the front.
And then once you got to LA, man, did y'all have to because, y'all from the Midwest, you know what I mean? LA is a different place. You know what I mean? As we starting to know now with everything that's starting to come out, you know what I mean?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
How was that transition coming from middle of America out to LA?
It was man, it was definitely a social shock for us because we're in a town where it's pretty much the culture is black and white. And then you go to LA and you got everything you can possibly think of is out there in LA. And the great thing that I loved about it was for the most part in LA, Southern California, most of the people at the time that were in our age group, they were all going after the same thing.
Gotcha.
Everybody wanted entertainment. Yeah. So unlike when you're in a small town, you know, you got majority people work. Mm-hmm. So when you having a conversation, it's about, man, I'm gonna get some overtime next week. Or man, they trying to work me up. Man, I'm thinking about quitting. Our conversations was, hey, you hear about that audition that they having for this Quentin Tarantino movie?
Mm-hmm.
Or you hear about this audition that Bobby Brown's doing for the video? Or man, I just got booked for this. Everything was entertainment conversation. So that was a shock to me because I thought every place was like the Midwest. So in hindsight, how I saw New York and all these big cities as being Cincinnati, I also thought that the big cities was Midwest kind of that mentality, but it was totally different.
Totally different.
Goal driven like nobody else, man. And it pushes you too. You know what I mean? So yeah, I think that was the social shock for me, is seeing so many people like me that was even more dedicated.
Right.
So I had to step up like heavy. And that's what it was.
And then now that once y'all got to LA, you know, y'all signed, you know, y'all get the Warner Brothers deal. Now I'm assuming y'all starting to get booked with big acts. Mm-hmm. What was the first show, or what was the first singer, whatever, that made y'all go, damn, we opening up for whoever? We
got booked for the Bobby Brown tour.
Oh, the King.
Yeah, King of R&B.
Hey, Bobby.
B. Shout out to Bobby B.
Yeah.
And we our first introduction to, like in Cincinnati, we would open up for the big acts that came through town, right?
Right.
But when we went to LA, like what really got us our deal was our at the time he was our ex-manager, and we had been in LA for 6 months. We were doing shows, things were good, but nothing was coming to the table.
Right.
Like nobody, no offers, no labels. I don't know if anybody was seeing us, whatever the case may be. We weren't getting any leadways. And then I called our ex-manager and asked him, his name is James Arsenal, shout out to Sugar Bear.
Sugar Bear.
I said, man, we about to go back to Cincinnati because we ran out of resources. We got to leave the place we're staying at.
Okay.
And, Chris and Shane, who was from Cold Premier, they were like, look, man, if y'all go home, we going to stay out here because we got an opportunity to go on tour with a Japanese rapper because they were dancers, remember?
Right.
They was Cold Crush. And he was like, we don't want to. If you guys stay, we going to continue to do Cold Premier. So we're like, okay, well, we'll stick around, but we need something we got to get a breakthrough, man, or else we're going to run out of resources. Mm-hmm. So I called James Arsenal, told him our situation. He said, let me call you back, man. He called me back and like, maybe it felt like forever, but it probably was 10 minutes. And he said, listen, do y'all have a show ready? And I'm like, yeah, why? What you got for us? He said, I got a big situation for y'all that's going to probably change y'all life. And I'm like, what you got? He said, y'all going to perform at Janet Jackson's. Her opening tour was Rhythm Nation. The after party was at Paradise 24 in L.A. It was a big club. It was kind of like Studio 54 in New York. All the celebrities, everybody hung out there. They booked us for that show. We did the show, man, and bust their heads. What was crazy, though, bro, is I'll never forget this. We were the only unsigned act to ever perform in the Paradise 24.
Noted.
The entire club that night was filled with celebrities. I'm talking about Prince, Hammer, En Vogue, all these people were in the house. This is Janet Jackson's after party.
I was going to ask you about Janet.
She's there.
Yeah.
We performed, and that show was such a big, like, response from the crowd that they had to get us immediate security to fight off celebrities. I had never experienced that before, where they had a couple of guys walking us to the upstairs VIP after the performance, and I'm looking at En Vogue grabbing, reaching. I'm looking at shit. Like Prince came to talk to us.
Did y'all talk to Prince?
Yeah.
I'm like, can we dive into the Prince conversation?
Yes, sir, for sure.
What did you and Prince talk about?
It was quick. We got up in the VIP. And we had noticed he was sitting over in the corner at a table by himself. Okay. Nobody was around.
No females?
Nothing, man. It was kind of dark in that little corner he was in. I just remember looking over there. One of the guys was like, man, look over there. Look over there. And it was Prince. So I'm like, God, I want to go over and shake his hand or say something to him. And our manager was like, man, just go say something to him. He cool. I was a little scared. Went over there to him. Told him, like, Prince, you're such an inspiration. We just want to meet you and just tell you how much we love you, love your music. And once we stopped, he stared for a minute. He looked up at us. He's like, y'all some bad motherfuckers. And that's the only thing he said to us. But that's my remembrance of our interaction with Prince. But it was packed that night with everybody.
Yeah. And this was Janet, man. This was Janet when she was Janet too.
It was 1990.
And look, all the OGs right now are reminiscent right now at this very moment. All the OGs who watching, they like, man.
I know Leo is.
I know. You know, that's Pop Soul. I know he is.
Sir,
Listen, when my daddy see this, I know he gonna be starting nodding his head. Mama, relax. It's okay. It's all right, Mama. You come on now. We talk about New Edition and everything already. Mama, relax. It's okay. You know what I mean? It's cool. And then, so after that night, man, was that just a vindicated moment for y'all? You're out in LA and y'all performing in front of the celebrities, people who've already made it. Was that a vindicated moment?
It was, man. It was bittersweet because here's what was crazy. Like, we were so happy, seeing the response of the crowd. We didn't know yet what was going to happen the day after because we still in the, we in the heat of the night. We after party. Partying, the girls are coming up to us. We ain't no business. I mean, you got guys coming up to us and who's managing you?
Yeah,
that's the LA thing. Who are you guys under? Who you signed to? You need to call me. Here's my card. We got all of that. But the next day when we started getting the actual calls from people that we seen on the award shows, like these executives from Warner Brothers and Sony calling for us, we knew that it was about to be a good situation. But remember when I said we had the Ron Sweeney deal? So that's when we had to go to them to say, can you let us out? They had heard about the buzz that was going on. It was kind of a rough patch to try to get us out of that situation. Yeah. And then at the time, half of the group wanted to sign with our manager, James Arsenal. Half didn't. But he got us that show. And I felt like obligated to him because he saved us in the time we was drowning. So I'm like, man, I think we should do this deal. James got Warner Brothers set up for us, man. And the rest of the guys are like, I don't know, I just don't feel comfortable with it. Eventually, we convinced the other, half of the group to go with him. We went with James. We got signed to Warner Brothers. But yeah, we didn't have time to celebrate because we got put in the position to have to make a decision.
Right.
And so that was kind of like bittersweet. But in the end, we wound up getting, our way, and it was cool.
And at this time, how old are y'all at this time?
20, 21.
Everybody around that same?
Yeah, early 20s.
Yeah. And then, so how did y'all stumble upon, I'm assuming while y'all was out in L.A., but correct me if I'm wrong, when y'all stumbled upon the chance to be in Class Act?
What happened was, so we got signed to Warner Brothers.
Okay.
And it's an interesting question, too. We got signed to Warner Brothers, and a lot of y'all probably know about the movie New Jack Swing.
Absolutely.
New Jack Swing. So New Jack City, I'm sorry. New Jack City.
You seen that, Mark? Have you seen New Jack City? He's an aspiring actor, so every time we talk about movies, I got to ask my dog.
Starring Wesley Snipes.
Yeah.
A lot of good Ice-T. A lot of people in that movie. We got offered that movie first by George Foster and Tommy McElroy. Those were the directors. They saw us at the Janet show.
Okay.
So after we got signed, 7-8 months later, they producing this movie. They called Warner Brothers. We want that group we saw at Janet's party. They would be perfect. I don't know what politics took place, but what ended up happening was Jodeci got that part.
Hey.
But the song that ended up taking off in that movie was given to us initially and then taken back from us. This is when the politics started happening.
Absolutely.
Taken back to us and given to a group called Color Me Bad, which ended up being a song called Sex You Up.
Okay. I know that. Okay.
I wanna sex you. Yeah.
That's my jam
5 million records they sold, man.
Woo!
The producers came to us initially, gave us our parts for the song.
Yeah.
The song was ours. When we didn't get that movie, they ended up giving it to Color Me Bad, the song. They did that. And because we didn't get that movie and they knew that the directors wanted us, the next movie that came up under Warner Brothers was a Class Act.
Gotcha.
And that's how we got that, because they were like, well, look, we're going to put co-premiere in that one.
Mm-hmm.
Sent us a song that they had a producer, Nick Mundy, and I can't remember, Gina Gomez, put together this song called That Body, sent it to us in Detroit while we were recording our album, and told us that they wanted us to do it for the movie.
Mm-hmm.
And we were like, cool. So we just record, you get it done from them. And it was like, no, we want you guys to also be in the movie.
Gotcha.
And that's how we ended up in Class Act. We, I think it's because they felt bad for not giving us the New Jack City.
Mm-hmm.
But hey, I ain't mad.
And how was it meeting Kid and Play? Because, at that time, it was rock stars at that time. How was it meeting Kid and Play?
They were cool, man. They had...
You got like pops?
They had seen our shows prior to us being in the movie and came to us during I think it was dress. We were getting fitted. Okay. We were getting fitted for costumes or whatever. And they came and said, hey, man, we real happy that you guys are going to be in here. We heard about you guys. We seen some things on you guys. You guys are the bomb. Let's make it great. Mm-hmm. And from that point on, it was like we were just like, we were all young, so we were just like boys, you know what I mean? After the rehearsals for the movie, we'd go and get, we go out and get some drinks. We go out and, to the movies and kick it. For you. Yeah, so we was definitely, friends, definitely friends. It was fun.
And then, so that's set, man, because, it's just that time, I always say this, now that I'm grown, I always a little envious of y'all generation. Because y'all, in my opinion, got to party at a time when it was really partying, you know what I mean? Y'all got to really kick it, I like to say. Sir. So just take me back to them days, man, like just them late 80s, early 90s, them house parties, just the vibe, just take me back there
We'll see what it was in the 80s, and I think, due to the extreme impact that hip-hop had on the culture at the time, it just shifted everything from any malice thoughts that you would have, like today when you go and you beefing with somebody, you want to fight them. They want to even, get to the point of even taking lives. Yeah. With us, it was like, if we got a problem, let's battle it out on the dance floor. Let's battle it out on songs. We took out our problems with our talent.
Absolutely.
And that's what determined if you were nice or not. And if you beat a brother, y'all can still see each other, the next day and be cool about it. Uh-huh. He just gonna go home and get nicer so he can come back and battle you again. And it kept elevating our game and it kept us alive, basically. And that was the difference, I think, in partying in the 80s and 90s. And it really wasn't much about how much money you had and who you could splurge on it. You could, take your chick and you ice her up. Nobody even talked about jewelry, really. You had that fake Dookie Boy chains, man. Mm-hmm. And other than that, man, nobody cared about diamonds. And, we liked cars, but it wasn't nothing like Mercedes and Lamborghinis and all of it. It was Jettas. Geo Jeeps. And it was just simple, but it was big to us. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And I think that was the difference between what we do now then versus what they do now. You know what I mean?
And then the standard, take them B-boy days, man, like, how was that? Y'all get up, especially in Cincinnati, y'all get up. Did y'all have meetup spots y'all meet up at? You know what I mean?
Yeah, man. They had, like with Chris and Shane, we had a place in Cincinnati called the Fountain Square. Okay. And on the Fountain Square, every year we would have like what's called the Jazz Festival, and you would have everybody, New Edition, all kind of acts, 3 days of just a big stadium. Like you guys got the Arrowhead, we had our Cincinnati Red Stadium, and it would be an outdoor event for all weekend. Then we had the Fresh Fest tours where you got Run DMC, LL, all these rappers that was just breaking into the game. They come through the city, and everybody would meet up on this place in the city called the Square. Mm-hmm. And that's where the battles would take place at. Eden Park would be a place. I mean, really wherever, if two dancers ran into each other and they was at the grocery store and they was, on from two different groups, it could start right there. Wherever. What's up, bro? I heard you was talking smack. Yeah. Let's do it. who got the, you got the box already, the music on your shoulders, so it happened wherever you ended up being at, man. Even the rap battles. So
man, that's hard, man. That's dope, man.
It was fun, man.
See, bro, I missed it, bro. Look, Tony, I missed it by a little bit. I was born in '94. I missed it by just a little bit.
You was around, but you just wasn't able to get down with it. You was still.
I just had to watch.
You still had your bottles and all, your binkies and stuff. But hey, you definitely was born in a time where you could be proud of, because in the '90s. Now in the '90s, things kind of changed a little bit. You're going towards that's when the drugs became kind of big, because that whole Ronald Reagan thing kicked in with war on drugs, and it was almost like, controversy says that a lot of stuff was planted in these cities, these inner cities, and as a setup, as a trap. But when you starving and you in poverty, you'll take your chances with the trap. And that's what kind of happened, man. Guys started getting into that game, and what ended up happening is, and I think that started where it's at today, because that's when the dope boys, the corner boys, started splurging on the women. They had the whips, they had the jewelry, they had the finest, all the gear that everybody wanted. That's when that whole flossing thing came about. And I think towards the mid '90s, going into the 2000s, is when it started getting into that whole, the D-boys they became the celebrities, basically.
And I'm glad you took it there. Good segue, because one thing I always like to ask, man, being, us being black men, I just want you to speak about just that crack era. You know what I mean? Because you was around before it came, and, you saw it,
Yes.
Just explain just Cincinnati, growing up, that crack era that you witnessed.
What it was, man, it was something different, because we weren't used to that. Like, people were, in the 80s, they were, selling little sacks of, weed and whatnot.
Reefers, which I was calling back then, huh?
Nickel bags, man. And
Reggie for us, y'all.
Reggie, very bad weed, but natural. Take you probably a pound to get a little buzz. Hey, man, pound costs $20. But what it basically was, man, once the 90s hit, it was like those that was not out there hustling, we didn't have nothing. So what do you do when you're in the inner city and you see a brother that that live in your apartment building upstairs, and he got the drop top Mustang, like the movie Menace to Society, the drop top Mustang. He got we go to the parties, the girls around him. He got the fresh Reeboks. That's when Reeboks was banging. He got the fresh outfits. Everything is just on point for him. And here you are, an entertainer, and you like, they flocking to him.
Yeah.
And so then I think what it did for a lot of guys that was en route and in pursuit of their careers and their passion, they wound up falling off the ledge trying to follow the dope boys.
Right.
And it ended up being a thing where, like, I knew plenty of guys, man, who was into the B-boy thing, who was into the Run DMC, the hip-hop thing, and then all of a sudden you got the, NWA come out, and no disrespect, I love NWA, I love Too Short and all of them, but they turned out a lot of people.
Got you.
They turned them out, and then everybody wanted to be killers. Everybody wanted to say, like Snoop, we don't love these hoes.
Yeah.
It became a whole different thing. Back in the days when hip-hop started, you had songs by Heavy D like Don't You Know and LL, I Need Love.
Yeah.
Now rappers, they ain't trying to go there right now.
No.
So it was a big difference. It was a big shock for us.
And that's crazy, that transition, because being that I am, because I'm the baby of my family, and, I grew up around a bunch of individuals in your age bracket, you know what I mean? I grew up listening to all that music, and you right, it's always interesting. The music y'all grew up on, which I was listening to as kids and as teenagers, y'all watched it transition from, being, I love women and this, that, and the third, to, man, fuck you hoes. You know what I mean? So
So then all of a sudden, you got a girl, you've been with for 5 years, and then all of a sudden you mean mugging her. Like, you looking at it like, if I just got one woman, I ain't doing nothing. I'm a Kirk. I'm a lame.
Yeah.
I got to have 3 or 4, and I got to be nonchalant with all of them because I'm the pick.
Yeah.
And that kind of like, I think that was the beginning of why, R&B is where it's at today.
And I hate that, Tony, man. Man, I hate it.
It ain't there.
No, it's not there at all.
It's just, do me. I mean, even the females, again, everybody got their hustle, and I can't knock this generation for what they're doing now, because that would be a contradiction, because believe me, back in our days, they were knocking us.
Okay, we're gonna stay on that.
They was knocking us. Like Easy and Too Short. You know what I'm talking about? You know, bitch and all that. That's devil music, and they stomping CDs out, throwing them in. It was the same way. So for me, when people ask me like, how do you feel about where music is today? I said, you know, I mean, I can't really knock them because that's where their minds are thinking right now. They're expressing what they experiencing. So it was like us. And the problem, I think, is what I don't really care for is that artists now are almost like, to be an artist, you got to be a gangbanger. It's like you can only be, like that's back in our days, you had Public Enemy, Big Daddy Kane, Biz Markie, LL. You had all these different rappers that were at the top of their games. Nowadays, if you got two rappers in the same city, only one's supposed to be the king. The other one got to get killed.
Yep.
What's his name? Mo 3. Mo 3.
Yeah.
And Yellow Beezy.
Down in Dallas.
Yeah. Fighting over who gonna be the king. Not fighting over you hurt my family member or you took money from me, but I'm the king of Texas. Right. Now I'm the king of Texas. Now we got beef. We ops. So now one of y'all got to go. And that's just, to me, I can't relate that to music. You know what I mean? But again, like I said, that dope era kind of
ushered all that in.
Shifted it. Yeah, man, it shifted it.
And that's crazy, man. Like I told you earlier, you know, when we first started, I'm a history buff. So, you know, I love hearing about, especially somebody who was there. You know, I mean, it's a difference when you just read about it, but an individual who was there, who witnessed the transition. Yes, those are the conversations I always like to have because, I mean, those are dope to me. You know what I mean? Because even as a 90s baby, I've gotten to witness, I always say as a 90s baby being born in 94, we got that last traditional upbringing. Yeah. You know what I mean? Yeah. We got whoopings and
you did.
You know, we caught that last, and we ushered in the technology era. It started with us.
Yeah.
We watched it go from, you know, being not all about technology to, oh, now I'm on this game.
Yeah.
So, it's an interesting time, you know what I mean? And I'm glad you said what you said about not knocking the youth, because that's where we are.
Right.
You know what I mean? Just like in y'all era, I feel like you said, NWA, Too Short, they turned a lot of artists out.
Yeah, it wasn't that route. They wasn't going that route before them. And again, not knocking NWA because NWA was only speaking their truth. I mean, if you were around in LA during those times, that's what they were going through.
Right.
You know, it was rough. So, I mean, why fake what you're speaking about? Why not speak about the real? Because you'll always have material. You'll always have content because it's real. So that's something I'll never knock, you know, the artists today because they're speaking their real and their truth. And you got to let them do it. I mean, it's y'all generation right now.
Right.
So I always tell people this, listen, we're past your stage now. We're in the upper, you know, years of our lives.
Yeah.
We can't go back to try and control your world. And we can't expect to bring you 20 years ahead of where you are now to understand ours. So what has to happen is the older generation has to realize it's time to move over. This is their language. Either learn their language or get out of their way because they're not to go back and learn your language because they have a different technology in this world now that don't speak our language.
Yes, sir.
So adjust or leave them alone, basically. And that's my take on it all.
That's OG talk right there. And I love when OGs say that because it's the truth, man. These young dudes, they don't want to hear about all that shit. Like, either you going to get on the program, adapt, like you said, still be yourself, or you got to get out the way.
You got to get out of the way.
Hell, I mean, even me, these young motherfuckers is, boy, they wild, but they powerful. You know what I mean?
That's what I was going to say. I respect y'all generation for one, not being afraid to speak out, not being afraid to fight for what you believe in, and not being afraid to be independent and having that entrepreneur spirit that y'all have. Because y'all are accustomed now to being able to say, hey, man, I can turn myself into a millionaire within a year.
Yeah.
In our days, we were always told, if you work 20, 30 years, you put money aside, and after 30, 40 years, if you put every check this amount, you can have $1 million. Yeah. That take 40, 30 years.
Damn
Y'all
right.
doing that in 30 days.
Yeah.
So it's like, you gotta, if you're knocking anybody out there that's in this older upper generation, knocking the younger generation, you're doing it because you're stuck. And you don't know how to get out of your little circle. Partner up, man.
Partner up.
Figure out what's going on and get involved because you know that you want to be secure financially, You want to be financial freedom. You want to have that freedom. You want to be able to spend time with your family.
Mm-hmm.
And if you knocking these guys, then how you going to ever get to that point when our teaching was 50, 40 years?
Right.
So how do you figure out how to do something with your life if you're going to knock the people that got the key to it down?
And
that's my take.
That's a good point.
Yes, sir.
I love that.
Mm-hmm.
I love that. And now, we've been speaking about Cincinnati. Who is your favorite artist to come out of the city? Outside of yourselves, obviously.
Wow.
Who's your favorite artist to come out of the city? And it's yours, not who you think gonna be, everybody else's favorite.
I would say for me personally, and it might shock people, but the deal.
Okay.
The deal. Shout out to the deal. Shout out to my brother Carlos Green. Those brothers to me was the closest thing that impacted me like New Edition.
Gotcha.
Boosie, the Isley Brothers, and all the others, great music, legends, love them to death. But the impact that I felt came from the deal.
Gotcha.
And to this day, the deal is my favorite group in Cincinnati. Yes, sir.
And what's your favorite song by him? You got a favorite hit by him?
Sweet November.
Sweet November. I'm gonna put
Sweet
that
November.
I know my daddy going crazy right now.
Two occasions. That was, a big one for me. Joystick, but Surrender, I Surrender. But Sweet November did it for me. To this day, I will play that record on repeat. If I got to drive 2 hours, I will keep it on repeat because
I'm riding to it on the way home.
Hey, man, you got to listen to it, brother.
Listen to it.
It's going to put that love in your heart, boy.
Yeah.
You're going to call your lady up if you got one or one of them. Hey, I need to talk with you.
You know what I'm saying? Martin, put that in your date playlist, brother. That boy.
Sweet November by the deal, man.
Sweet November. Put that in there, man. You know what I'm saying?
Yes, sir. The deal is DEELE. Yep, Sweet November.
Man, look, we see what I'm saying? Look, giving this type of guest, we giving back to the youth right now. You know what I'm saying?
Yes,
Put
sir.
some love in our heart. You know
Yes,
what I'm saying?
sir.
Have
Yes,
us
sir.
cleaning up to some good music, man.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, feel good. And then the Isley Brothers, when they came out, was that what happened when y'all saw that era? Were they around the same time as Prince? Did they all come out at the same time?
They were the Isley Brothers were a lot earlier than that. They made a song called Twist and Shout. So you can imagine, Twist and Shout, those titles were basically the 50s and whatnot. But the Isley Brothers, Ron Isley is still relevant today.
Absolutely.
He's still around today. But yeah, they were, in our generation, when we got wind of the Isley Brothers, they were already they were in orbit then,
Yeah.
We didn't even know they were from Cincinnati. They were already so big. It was just like hearing anybody else, Stevie Wonder or anybody else on the radio. And later I found out they was from Cincinnati.
Gotcha.
And I was blown away by that. But yeah, they were, I heard they were very religious. My father told me they rehearse for hours and hours in their garage. And then when it became, nighttime, they would praise and be, praying real loud and talking in tongues, the whole family in their garage. So they had a real unique situation as a family, as a whole, But yeah, it was they were definitely influential to the city for sure.
Yeah, that's dope, man. You know what I'm saying? Because Cincinnati always been one of those cities in the Midwest. Like you said, it's a big city, but it get passed over. I guess my first introduction coming up, I grew up around a lot of street-oriented individuals. So anytime I would hear about Cincinnati, it's because motherfuckers was going out Cincinnati getting money.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Then the movie Into Deep dropped.
Yeah, LL.
When that dropped, based out of Cincinnati.
Yes,
So,
sir.
That was my introduction to Cincinnati as a kid. Watching them move and seeing all my, family members who would speak about going through Cincinnati.
Yes.
How was it like, when they dropped that movie? What was it something about Cincinnati that
it was? I think that for one, I think like yourself, like you just mentioned, people were aware of the city, but like when doing movies in New York and LA is very costly.
Okay, right, absolutely.
So, but you can go to a city like Cincinnati and get that New York backdrop, but with a less expense.
Right.
But I think what it was like a lot of situations when it came to like that underground drug scene. Cincinnati was a big hub for that.
Gotcha.
Like Rick Ross. If you look up the story of Rick Ross, who was infamous Kingpin, he got caught in Cincinnati. You know what I mean? It's that's just I don't know what it is about Cincinnati. It's always been a town where somebody either came through there, got stuck in there, got killed out there.
Is that why they call it the Nasty Natty?
The Nasty.
Is that what they call it? That? You know what I mean? Is that?
You did your research, brother. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. That is why, because it's nasty on all angles. On all angles. Yes, sir.
Yeah, I was doing my research. Obviously, I kept seeing Nasty Natty. I'm like, I'm gonna ask him about this Nasty Natty.
Yeah, man. It's nasty, man.
Yeah, you know what I mean? I'm like, let me ask bro about this.
It's
I know
nasty.
he know. And was that a name before you came up? Was it already there?
Nah, it was after.
Okay, gotcha.
Like we came up, we started hearing about it kind of in the 90s. Like that's when that whole, like I said, that whole underground kicked in. I mean, we were a city that was heavily influenced and heavily supportive of like MJG, 8-Ball MJG.
Man, we was in St. Louis. You know, I'm from St. Louis.
Okay, right on. Yeah, I love the Lou. UGK, the whole Master P, No Limit. Like Cincinnati loves, that underground, raw music. And I think that that played a big part in just the town becoming like nasty because a lot of those artists would come through there. Man, here's what's crazy. Most artists that came to Cincinnati, if you Google this, Tupac came to Cincinnati. They jumped him. T.I. came to Cincinnati. His boy got killed in Cincinnati. Yeah, it was like I said. It's weird because it's a good town, but it also has its dark side.
Absolutely,
just like most,
like every city basically
nowadays.
Yeah, you gonna have your good and your bad.
Yeah, yes sir.
And then one thing I want to ask you, man, because mental health is becoming a big thing in the black community amongst us black men. What are your thoughts being an OG, going through life already? How do you feel about mental health?
I'm a big avid believer that, especially in our culture, it's a big denial thing.
Absolutely.
We like even being brought up as a youngster, you got uncles, you got your fathers or whoever, older men in your family, they always tell you, don't be a punk. Don't cry. You better whoop him, beat him. Everything that not everything, but most of the influences that came from our, older generation, uncles and whatnot, men in our family, was always about either just being tough, not sharing your feelings, and that's bottling up all your vibes. That's bottling up all your energies and keeping it in until something tips over and then you explode.
Yes, sir.
And I think that the mental health thing is a big problem in our culture for one reason: pride.
Absolutely.
I don't need to go, because see, when you tell one of your brothers that, hey man, we need to, you need to probably go see somebody, what you've been dealing with, man, it's probably taking a toll. Oh man, I don't need it, man. I'm good, man. I don't need to go in front of nobody, man. What they gonna tell me that I don't? And what they're not realizing is getting some help mentally doesn't mean you lack anything as a man. It just means like you got a car, you get your car oil changed, you got your clothes, you do your laundry, you got your mind, you need to get your mind right and clean your mind just like you do take care of everything else. But for some reason, when it comes to mental health or even physical health, it's a real
that's real uncut. No, you good. That's real uncut raw footage for y'all right there.
Yes, sir. It's a void in that culture to educating on mental health. And I think if we were a little bit more involved with mental health practices and getting ourselves seen, it will be less violence out there because we can vent and get this stuff out. Yeah. But until you vent it out, you ain't gonna do nothing but bottle it up until it explode on someone else.
Yeah.
And that's why a lot of the violence that's happening today is stemming from just years of just generation after generation of
trauma.
Be tough.
Yeah.
Quit crying.
Yep.
Shut up. Don't, man, you don't love no girl. My uncle told me when I was a kid, man, I came up to him and I seen him in the park in our city, and he said, Tony, I was 9 years old. He said, hey, Tony, how many girlfriends you got, man? And I knew my uncle, I didn't have any, but I told him two.
Right.
Because I knew, how he thinks. So he said, how many girls you got? I'm like, well, I got to tell him two then. I know if I tell him two, he going, I'm going to get props. I'm like, I got two. I'm 9. He said, 2? That's it? He said, look here. He showed me open a book. He said, look at these numbers. He said, Uncle Larry got 99 women.
Oh,
you got to step it up.
Yeah.
So what he did was not realizing was he put me on a road to feeling like, and I admire my uncle.
Absolutely.
If I don't have more than 2 women, I'm a lame.
Yeah.
So look what that does for me. Look what that does for any woman that meets me. I'm looking at you like a woman like, hey, you won. I got to get more than just you. And this could be the one for me. But that's what in our community, we sometimes have to go through that.
Absolutely.
A loving community, and I'm not knocking our culture, but we definitely got to deal with the mental health a lot better than we do.
I think that's in our culture, to me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I think that's a huge component.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Just because, you spoke on it. Since we got off the boat, relatively speaking, just consistent generations of just consistent trauma. And we pass it on down. Pass it down and pass it down. Yeah. And the things, I always say this, Tony, bro, the things we saw and the things we went through in the ghetto, we need to go speak to somebody about. You know what I mean? Because, and mainly your generation, because y'all watched the crack era, y'all watched mass incarceration. You know what I mean? Y'all went through some things, in this country that, motherfuckers need to go talk about, you know what I mean? Because it's not natural to bottle all that up, like you said.
Nah.
And because when they come out for us, we are considered the angry black guy once it finally come out.
Yeah.
It's like, damn, but you don't know, I've been going through some shit. You just so happened was the one that, that sparked the flame. So I enjoy seeing, men, period, but mainly black men, what I mean, go get mental health, man, because I think it's important because the way we treat each other, the way we kill each other, it has to be something up here.
It's something there.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's a no-nonsense mentality. It's a, you or me.
Right.
It's not a let's work it out anymore. Now, back in the days, you'll get into a fist fight, and like I was saying, either battling or you're going to fist it out, but you live to see that next day, and you end up patching it up with your brother. Like, hey, man, that was messed up, man, what we went through, bro, but it's all good. It's all love. And now you good. You here.
Yeah.
He here. But nowadays, it's almost like you take, for example, the whole parade down there.
Absolutely.
When I got more info on how that transpired, it's senseless. It didn't even make sense. This was a guy who came out, already got the chip on his shoulder, and he was ready to get something going.
Yeah.
By asking the person, what you looking at? Those are fighting words. That's a start to a fight right there.
At least in the Midwest it is.
Yeah, what you looking at?
What you looking at?
Okay, well, I can't look at. No, man, I'm just looking at it's going to go back and forth,
Absolutely.
and then it escalates. And now look what we're dealing with behind the mentality of having some issues probably going on the inside, and you want to take it out on the next person.
Man.
Yeah, innocent lives, basically.
Innocent lives, man.
Yeah, so.
And it's crazy to see, I try not to beat up on the younger generation, but it is a difference, you know what I mean? Because like you said, you back in your day, y'all could, get the fisticuffs going or battle it out. That was probably a dope, era, man. It had to be. You know what I mean?
You didn't feel corny. It wasn't. Now you would feel corny if you got corny. 2 brothers as opps.
What?
You got Dirk and YB saying, all right, let's go battle it out with a verse then, and we're gonna settle it. Whoever wins, he wins and the beef is over. Nah, it's like.
I feel like, but I'm glad you said that. I probably won't because these young dudes are stubborn, but it should go back to that. You know what I mean? Because we'll save each other, man. We'll save.
Man. A lot of people wouldn't be sad.
Yeah.
Because what happens with situations like that is what happens is 2 people got a problem. One person ends up, in a bad predicament. Both of them going to end up in a bad predicament. One's going to go to jail. One's going to probably go to the graveyard. But here's the sad thing is we lost 2 potential great people. I heard something that was said to me before, man, that was deep. Somebody said to me, he said, hey, man, some of the, where the most richest inventions, the biggest money inventions are at right now, the place that has all the best ideas, it's the graveyard. Because a lot of people go to the graveyard never getting a chance to get to follow the pursuit of what they were going for.
Yeah.
A lot of people had great ideas that we never got a chance to hear about that could have changed our lives, medicine that could have cured.
Yeah.
But when you go out and you take a life or you destroy a person's mental, you destroy a possible change or a possible chance of change. And that's why when that person told me that, I was like, damn, that's deep. He was like, where some of the richest ideas are at? I'm like, where? He was like, I was thinking like, where? Like Silicon Valley? Or,
my dumb ass, I was finna say Cincinnati. I'm thinking bro finna say Cincinnati.
No, the graveyard.
Yeah.
It's a lot of people that never got a chance to do what they wanted to do or tell what they needed to tell or express what they needed to express before their demise, and you can't get it out of them.
It's too late.
So that's kind of my mentality, like, get that help. Like, I don't, and you're right. We need to go back and get that help so we can say, hey, son, daughter, nephew, well, I'm bringing you here. You need to talk to this person. And then just, try at least, And
I feel like that'll be most effective because even, gentlemen that's in your age bracket, my uncle, my father, I'm still in awe of my uncle. You know what I mean? My uncle is still my, who I aspire to be. Even,
idol.
My uncle is my guy. I think I talk about my uncle every episode, but that's who I, wanted to be like growing up. So
here, man.
To your point, if y'all could, hey, son, nephew, grandson, because it's hard to say no to y'all because we still, we admire y'all.
And that's the problem. We think y'all don't want to say yes to us.
Okay.
That's the gap right there.
Right.
We both are like on your end. You're thinking, I will go if somebody just take leadership. Our mindset is these kids don't want to listen to nothing, so we don't attempt.
Gotcha.
So it's just that space there that ain't making nothing's happening because we both want it to happen. But we don't know how to get there communicative-wise. We don't know how to communicate that and say, hey, man, you know what? I know that I'm your uncle. I know you got your own mind now, your own opinion.
Yeah.
But I'm still your uncle.
Right.
And I'm only telling you this because I want you to be around.
Yeah.
And make that communication happen. And then the youngsters have to also understand that, we're not trying to take y'all down the wrong route.
Yeah.
We want you here because we need you here. You know what I mean? It's already bad enough,
man, absolutely.
Period. So that's kind of where my mind is at, is just getting out there and, kind of bringing the two together, man, and getting some dialogue going.
Yeah. And that's what this conversation was, Tony. You know
yes,
what I'm
sir.
saying?
That's what I thank you for that, brother.
And I thank you, man, because I'm telling you, man, anytime I can sit down with an OG and have a conversation, it lets me know that I'm on track for this reason.
Yes, sir.
It lets me know that I can talk to a gentleman who's been there and done that already.
Yes, sir.
You know what I mean?
Yes,
and you know what I'm saying? So
yes, sir.
That's the type of shit I like to do, which is why once I made this podcast, that was the type of things I wanted to get into. You know what I mean?
Yes, sir.
Was being able to just have these type of conversations because it's easy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We come from two different eras, but it's just easy because at the end of the day, you ain't no different than my uncle.
Right. It's just doing it. It's just doing
it.
Taking a step, doing it. And that's why I love what you're doing here. You kind of remind you closest to Shay Shay, man. That's the closest thing I've ever seen to the Shay Shay situation. You got a good vibe about yourself, man. And I appreciate you for even bringing me on board. Definitely my brother Leo, man. That's a guy that I feel like, that's going to be my brother for life.
Yeah.
I
call him Pops.
Yeah, man.
He adopted me without knowing.
brother.
He ain't signed no papers or nothing.
He don't want me calling him Pops because that means something different. But that's my brother, man. Esai and the whole family, man. And shout out to Elmo, man, because, that's what, he's the one who brought us together.
Yeah.
I'm here right now talking to you because of Elmo.
Gotcha.
You know what I mean? And that, to me, that's something that'll never, I'll never lose that love for him. I'll never, ever not be here for his family, the best that I can. And man, I see blessings where they started. I see how they started, and I appreciate that. So, man, you keep doing what you're doing, bro.
Thank you, sir.
You definitely, you're on your way. You just got to keep going.
I'm going to keep going because you just make me feel good. I'm going to go out and spend me some money today.
Man, go and break some bread.
OG told me, I resemble Shay Shay style and all that. Shay Shay, he the one right now. You know what I'm saying?
Tag Shay Shay, man. You got to tag Shay Shay. This is it right here, man. You got to work with it.
So look, man, it's been another wonderful episode. I was so excited today, Mark. I think I did it the last few episodes. I forgot to tell y'all. Please like, subscribe, share, hit the notification bell, man, because I'm getting better. You know what I'm saying? I'm doing what I'm doing. And like OG just said, I'm going to keep going.
Yes, sir.
You know what I'm saying? Mr. Tony Robinson, once again, man, I want to thank you for coming,
Likewise,
sharing your story, giving game, giving wisdom. I truly, from the bottom of my heart, man, I want to thank you for pulling up today, man.
Yes, sir, man. Anytime. I'll definitely come back anytime you need, brother. I got some things that's about to happen.
Oh, go ahead. Give them a shout out before we get out of here.
Yeah, and I want to definitely do some cross stuff with you guys as well. I had a podcast that was, I think 22 was the year. doing really well. I got tired. You know how it can be, man. I got tired. I was a one-man show. I've been getting a lot of inboxes about bringing it back. I decided to do it again.
Hey, now.
This spring, I'm coming back somewhere probably in that April, May-ish area. And I definitely want to, reach out with you brothers and kind of do some stuff together, man.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Absolutely, man. Now, look, it's a beautiful day out here in KC. It's going to be a beautiful weekend. John's going to go get some trouble. Mark, you got a date tonight? No. Wow. It might be a bad look. Wait a minute. Wait, you ain't got no date? Okay, well, fuck it then, Mark. Okay, I see what's going on. You know what I'm saying? I watched Heavy Breathing. I seen
that
you got some shit in the works. Don't it look a little devilish? That's a wild boy right there.
Yeah, he got something set up.
Yeah, ain't nobody colder than my engineer. You know what I'm saying? I got the coldest engineer in the game, man. We can't be fucking.
We're going to push some buttons tonight.
Yeah, well, listen. I'll do it for you, Mark. You know what I'm saying? I'll go on a date for us. You know what I'm saying? Since Mark ain't gonna go, I'll be the one in the I-70 family to get out here in these streets.
Yes, sir.
As y'all know, my dog Eastside, he's put up. You know what I mean? He doesn't get to do anything, rightfully so. You know what I'm saying?
Yes, sir.
Ain't that right, Pops? Okay, well, look, and then look, Pops, I want to thank you for setting this up. I'm gonna give him, my OG here in the back. Thank you for setting this up, OG. Look, man, we're gonna get up out of here because if we don't, John gonna keep talking. I'm gonna have this gentleman here for another hour. Get up out of here. We out.